guys, what is going on? Blossom's back. Welcome back to another video of top drives, but it's a rather special format. I've never done a recording like this before, and today we're going to try. Now, I don't know when I'm going to be posting this video, okay? I just want to let you guys know I'm recording this video March the 1st, 2025. I mean, while I'm recording the video, the qualifiers for the final has just released, but I'm already recording it now because we know what the Tri-Series finals are going to be, what the Tri-Series finals requirements are going to be. Hutch has announced that it's going to be non-prize, coupe, American Overdrive, as well as Amalfi Coast Cruising. And because of that, we already have the carpool, and technically I can review the pack already. As always, as most Tri-Series go, by the time you watch this video, there's probably going to be a titanium pack for you to open, there's probably a platinum pack for you to open, and there's some pretty cool cards to unpack. Now, I guess I know what the question is, okay? Number one, I'm going to be posting this early on my Discord. You guys are going to be seeing this like a week, almost 2 weeks earlier, and y'all are going to be like, why are you recording it now? And you know what, when this video finally comes out, you might be thinking, why am I recording this a week and a half in advance? Well, here's the thing. By the time that you are watching this on public on YouTube, okay, if you're watching this early access on Discord, then I might still be around, but I'm not dead, okay? But I'm just saying that by the time you're watching this live on YouTube, I will be in Japan. And I'll be making a lot of videos in advance. And I think that by the time you watch this video, this wouldn't even be the first video that you've seen me record in advance while I'm in Japan, because I'm gonna post this. Well, let me check my calendar. When am I actually posting this video, right? The finals are gonna come out next Friday, which will be March the 7th. That's probably when I'll be posting this video, about a week from now. Look, man, we'll figure things out, okay? But anyway, welcome to today's episode. We're going to be reviewing the pack incredibly early, but by the time you watch this video, it should be just on time. As always, for the opening segment of today's video, we're going to showcase a submission from Roberto05. He is showcasing, and a lot of you guys are actually choosing the butt for the background, for the video of choice, and I like that. It's a great car. I think it's because I show the butt a lot. I think one person had it where I unpacked the butt, another person had it where I was talking about the butt, and then this video is me talking about upgrading the butt, or me upgrading the butt. Anyway, he's got a nice line of diecast cars in the selection over here. A bunch of Le Mans winners from the 787B. I see the Mazda R390. I don't think that ever won Le Mans, but it was a Le Mans car. There was also that BMW. I think the BMW won, but I'm not too sure. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you so much for your submission that came in via Instagram. As always, guys, there'll be a titanium pack open. I can't open it right now because I'm recording this video in advance, but as always, here are the ranks. Der Kaiser, versatile, requires some criteria, requires a special tag challenge, and Robin's Wonders World of plus or minus 3 RQ. As always, with every single pack review video, here's a short little disclaimer. Everything that I'm going to be telling you is based off my personal experiences while, I've been playing the game for the last 7 to 8 years, okay? So, anyway, let's get into it. Amalfi Coast American Overdrive Coupes. This will be really funny if they change the requirements. If they change the requirements, and this is why I don't usually make these videos super in advance, because if they change the requirements, then all this would have been for nothing. And if they change the requirements, I will still post this video, and it will just be really funny. It will just be useless. It would have been a what could have been kind of thing. Look, let's get into it. So, we're going to start off with the Amalfi Coast stuff, right? A lot of red, a lot of Italian cars. And we're going to start off with the off-road Lancia Fulvia Coupe. Honestly speaking, requires some criteria, but it's not a great off-roader anymore. It used to be a super rare. It went up in rarity. It was a really good super rare, but honestly, as an ultra rare, and it got a handling cut, it isn't that great. 85 max handling used to be 87 way back when, but now it's only 85. And the only reason why I'm going to put it and require some criteria is because I can only see myself using this in like not even, because it's not an Alfa Romeo. For some reason in the back of my head I thought it was an Alfa Romeo. You don't get Lancia 5 times in club, so that isn't really a cash cow for you. Requires a special tag challenge. Really nice car. And I guess one special thing about the Lancia Fulvia is it's like pre-70s. Okay, Yeah, maybe I'll move it back up. We'll see if I bring it down for now. We don't see pre-70s events too often, but at the end of the day, it's still an off-road tire car, front-wheel drive. You will still get use of it. I guess front-wheel drive clubs might be relatively useful. There are a lot of better options to use nowadays, though. Alpha GTV Cup is up next. I say requires some criteria as well. It's not an offensive car. It's a pretty inoffensive car. 97 handling for RQ50 is a little bit of a pretty decent bargain. Next thing is the Alpha Giulia. Again, I say requires some criteria. It's a pre-70s car. 73 MRI isn't the greatest thing in the world, but 91 handling paired with the fact that this thing is super light, about 600 kilograms. Again, you gotta know where to use it and when to use it. Requires some criteria, but it will shine. I have this car fully upgraded and is one of my more used Italian ultra rares from Amalfi coast. Moving on, the Fiat 124 Abarth Rally is up next, and it's honestly crazy that the Abarth Rally is even considered in here. It feels like it's a car that has been in the game for so long. The Fiat and the Fulvia, it feels like they are cars that have been in the game for so long. But it's really hard to believe that they came with Amalfi Coast Cruising. Like before Amalfi Coast Cruising, we didn't have these two, which were, you know, very significant game-changing super rares way back in the day. Look, I think it's only fair where the Fiat goes, the Lancia goes as well. These two cars go hand in hand. So if I'm going to put the Lancia and require some criteria, I'm going to put the Fiat in the same place as well. If later on in the video I decide to move it down, I'm going to move on the Fiat as well. Those two cars are very useful, especially when they were super rares, but they go hand in hand. The Buick Vista comes next. I think this requires a special tag challenge, mainly because you won't see many standalone Buick events. You won't see a Buick 5 times in clubs, so that takes away the potential of being a cash cow. On top of that, it's a lower RQ ultra rare, part of a niche that is, you know, very oversaturated. Rear-wheel drive performance tire cars, not a bad niche, but I guess you can say that it is at a disadvantage that is competing against like hundreds and hundreds of other cars that are also road drive performance tires that are also ultra rares. It's also not the best Buick that you can utilize, so that's another thing to consider as well. So I would say in very niche scenarios like a special tag challenge, it might be useful. I don't think it's overrated or anything like that. I just think that there are better options for the Buick. Moving on is the Challenger RT. Again, I'm a Dodge collector, so I feel like I have a lot of knowledge on how useful these cars are in game. For the Challenger RT, unfortunately, there are just simply better options to use. Basically, most things that I said for the Buick and why, you know, it wasn't that useful also applies for the Challenger RT. Moving on is the Chevy Camaro. This thing used to be medium ground clearance. It has been moved down to a low ground clearance car, but also at the same time, it used to be RQ64. Now it's RQ54. So big differences there. That being said, it's going to go down and requires a special tag challenge for the same reason for the Challenger as well as the Vista. Now, I know what you guys are saying. You know, you put the Camaro and the Giulia together, the Camaro is the better car. Lowers you to 60 and it handles better. Probably more MRI. I'm not sure about that one though. I know this is 73 MRI, but I'm not sure what the Camaro has for MRI. So why are these two cars, you know, in different ranks? Well, the thing is, you know, the Camaro is a 2000s car. There are a lot more 2000s cars that this is going to be competing with compared to, you know, ultra rares that are pre-70s or even 70s and 60s. So that's something that I want to take into account as well. Moving on is the Alfa Nuvola and the Hyena. Now these two cars are relatively interesting, right? They're four-wheel drive, they're Italian, and they handle pretty well. And going into or right before the most recent car correction change, the Lancia Hyena would have been a car that I would have put in versatile, mainly because it was the best four-wheel drive performance Italian car to use in the wet. In many situations, you could even say that it's one of the better, it still is one of the better cars that you can use in the wet. Not even four-wheel drive, but one of the better Italian cars, Italian ultra rares that you can use in the wet. And that's mainly because, you know, when it comes to Italian ultra rares with standard tire cars, there are very little cars that would compete. I can only think of the Alfa Giulia, as well as the Maserati Quattroporte. And for the longest time, the Maserati Quattroporte, which is now RQ50, I think, or somewhere along those lines, was the only Italian standard tire ultra that you could use. But now the competition is getting a little bit more tight, and the Lancia Hyena, unfortunately, isn't even the best four-wheel drive performance tire ultra low ground clearance Italian car anymore. Look at how many, you know, criteria I need to memorize just to mention this car. But the only issue is that for the Hyena, although it used to be really good back then, the Maserati Ghibli which isn't a car that you can unpack here, but in a general sense, the mod's already Ghibli. Let me show it to you. You can see. So before that, you know, four-wheel drive, low ground clearance, Italian, ultra rares, Hyena was great. But since the Ghibli has moved down, it is the premier car to use. That being said, Hyena is still relatively useful because you can use it on slalom, you can use it on G-force. Let's put in that quattroporte, if I can spell it correctly. Probably not. Maserati, maybe that will show up. I think I have some kind of filter going on, so let me get rid of that. Maserati, it's 51. So if we put that in 323, as you can see, it still loses to the Hyena. And then we have the Giulia. Again, let's add this one in. There you go. Oh, G-force, it takes away what the Hyena was good at. So now, you know, when it comes to the standard tire meta, you want to use the Giulia and the Ghibli. So the Hyena, Hyena's Laguna Seca and Forest Road, but that's only because the Ghibli doesn't have times for that. So that's one thing to consider, right? Hyena used to be great, but now with the Ghibli coming down and becoming an ultra rare, new competition, right? New competition. So anyway, moving back to the list, that's kind of my reasoning of why the Hyena, in my opinion, used to be versatile, but now I've got to bump it down. I still think it's a pretty decent car to use, but there are better options to use now. The Cadillac Interspace comes next, and that honestly requires a special tag challenge. Cadillac Era, though, is Der Kaiser. Fantastic. It's just so light, it's so nimble, handles well. I think it's one of the lightest cars in the game, actually. Cadillac Era might be the lightest ultra rare as well. Really, really good car to use. The Chevelle Slammer. Woo! I think it requires some criteria. Honestly, if it retained the RQ that it used to have before the most recent car correction change, before dragsters were like, you know, severely overrated, I think this thing used to be a 53 or a 54, I would have put it in versatile because it would have had that bargain factor to it. But the Chevrolet Slammer doesn't have that bargain factor anymore. That being said, it's still a pretty decent, like, fast circuit, hairpin road, quarter mile kind of car because it has that balance of a very low 0 to 60 and decent handling. That is to say that if I unpack this car on Gawams, I would gladly max it right away. Now, moving on, the Buick Wildcat EV. I'm going to put that in versatile tier, and I might bump it up or down, seeing how well it performs. I always thought that this was one of the better RQ65s. So for this to go down to 61 was honestly quite a big surprise for me. At most, I thought it would go down to a 64 or at most a 63, but a 61 is actually pretty big. The big Wildcat EV has pretty decent MRI, and on top of that, it handles pretty well as well. I'm going to put that in a versatile tier. I think it's going to be one of the better Buicks for us to use, and I'm really looking forward to unpacking this as an ultra rare. Hopefully I can get it while I'm in Japan. Maybe I'll open a pack and hopefully I get the Buick Wildcat EV. That'll be a fantastic pull to get. I would love to max that, utilize that, and see what it's all about. But honestly, on paper, I had it as an epic. It has won me a Tri-Series before. It's a decent car, I would say. And with the very little knowledge I have of it, it has left a good impression for me. Now, moving on to the epics. We start with the Alpha 1750 GTA M. Requires a special tag challenge. Unfortunately, it's just another GRE. The Chevrolet SS, same scenario, special tag challenge. The Disco Volante. Honestly, you know what? The Chevrolet SS, I'm going to bring it down to Robin's Wonders World. I do not think it deserves to be a 66. It was an ultra rare, and I think it should have stayed that way. I think it genuinely should have stayed that way. It's not a dragster, you know, it's more of a hybrid kind of car, and I don't know why it went up. I know it got a slight handling buff, but 82 isn't anything to write home about. And then moving on is the Alpha Disco Volante Spider. Again, Robin's Wonders World of plus or 3 minus RQ. It could be a 64. You know, it could be a 64. I think 66 is a little bit too high. Then the Alpha Brera Concept is up next. I'm going to put that in Robin's Wonders with plus 3 minus RQ as well. A lot of pretty stinky ultra rares, epics, sorry, to unpack here. Same thing with the 4C Concept. I think, you know, it's a very poorly performing RQ66. I think the main thing about the 4C, though, is that it's very light. It's very, very light. So, you know, using a car park slalom, it might shine a little bit more. But then again, I would still use a Zenus, and the Zenus is still an ultra rare. Moving on is the Fiat Abarth X1/9 Prototipo. Requires some criteria. I think I'm going to put it alongside the Lancia and the Fiat in the sense where they used to be really good cars. Now that they've moved up into a new rarity, into a new home, I don't think that, you know, they're great bargains anymore. The Lancias have become some of the best super rares to some of the worst ultra rares. It's the same thing for the Fiat, right? It became one of the best ultra rares to one of the worst epics. not bad, you know. It's still a car that if you fully upgrade, it will be useful. Fiat 5 times is the thing in clubs. If you can max this, and not many players will, you know, you can get that monopoly in clubs. If it's Fiat 5 times, it's off-road, road less taken, and you are one of the very few people to actually max a Fiat, you will get your money's worth out of that. I really think so. So, you know, it's very situational now. It used to be really good, now it's just very situational. I don't think it's a bad car, though. Corvette Stingray is a special tag challenge kind of car. The Bat, oh my goodness, yeah, Bat is going to be definitely Robin's wondrous world of plus or minus 3 RQ. Now, we move on to the higher RQ stuff, like plus 70. I think the C7 requires some criteria. The CT5V, honestly, special tag challenge. And the main reason for that is because almost every epic Cadillac is about the same. It's a medium ground clearance, performance tire, rear-wheel drive car, right? And when you want to use one, you got the Blackwing. And if you don't have the Blackwing, you have the other Cadillac, which is like, you know, the Blackwing but a little worse. You know, so because of that, unfortunately, this is in an oversaturated competition pool of just medium ground clearance Cadillacs. So I'm gonna put that in Ricardo's special tag challenge. The Alpha Pandion is up next. Again, I'm gonna put it in Ricardo some criteria. You know, it's a decent alpha epic to use. There are better options like the TZ3, which I'll put in the higher rank, of course. The Challenger 1320, I mean, decent dragster. But again, you know, how like the Cadillac is competing against every car that's just the same, the Challenger is about the same as well. If I want to use a Challenge, if I want to use a Dodge, if I want to use an American Epic for the drag, why would I use a 1320 when I can use like, you know, one of 6 Hellcats in the game, or even the Charger Juice, for example. I think this actually beats the Charger Juice. I'm not sure, or it might come close, but you know, the Hellcats are definitely the better option to use. And on top of that, you also have the Rezvanis if you wanted to. Moving on, Camaro SSX. I think it requires some criteria. You know what? No, I'm going to versatile because it's a muscle car with a muscle car tag that has 88 handling. Max it out 98. It's a muscle car that handles well. If you don't have the ZL11LE, that's going to be a great car for to use. So for that reason, I'm actually going to put it in versatile. This ZU6C6 is a versatile car as well. I don't think it's Der Kaiser. I don't think it's like incredibly dominant, but it's a great epic, one that I would absolutely love to have. It handles well. MRI is pretty decent. 0 to 60 is low. Top speed is pretty high. We get the Corvette Stingray now. This one's dominant. You know, when you think of a dominant Corvette, you think of that C8. This thing is a hairpin god. I think it's really good at indoor karting and karting as well. Quarter mile is pretty decent, even though it has no MR, just that the 0 to 60 is very, very low. Der Kaiser for that C8. TZ3 Stradale. I mean, it's one of the best epic Alfa Romeos that you can use. I'm going to give it a very high versatile just off Der Kaiser. Now, moving on to the legendaries. Oh, it's always tough to rank the legends because I don't think that there's a single bad legendary that you can unpack here. But obviously, like when you've got like let's talk about this C8 Z51, for example. It's only going to be really useful if you fully upgrade it, and realistically, not a lot of players are going to fully upgrade that. So where do you judge it? I don't think it's overrated. I think it's okay as an RQ80. So I think it just requires some criteria. Now, moving on is the Chevrolet Serve and the Corvette Indy. Both of these being four-wheel drive American cars from the 90s, which is a niche in itself, and I'm going to put them both in versatile. You just got to know. You got to know when to use them, you know? I've seen these cars being useful before. But yeah, I'm going to put them in the versatile rank. Moving on now with the Alfa TZ3 Corsa. You know, I kind of dubbed this car as like the Italian Viper ACR. Handles well, MRA is great, 0 to 60 is a bit meh. But, you know, for 84 RQ, I think it's a great car. Der Kaiser. Moving on is the Pagani Zonda Tricolor. I mean, all the Paganis, you can't really go wrong with them, right? Like, they all get above 100 handling. They are all great little dragsters as well. You know, at the very least, I think they're versatile. I don't think there's a single bad Pagani in the game, okay? You can try and argue with me on that. I really don't think there's a single bad Pagani. Let me think about it one more time. Even the Epic's C12, pretty decent. It's not terrible. I don't think there's a single terrible Pagani. So there's not a single Pagani where I look at them just like, yeah, it's hot garbage. Like, at best, they're just average, you know? Corvette C8R, that's Der Kaiser for sure. the IMSA. Yeah, that's the Kaiser for sure. I mean, I know it got a slight little nerf in its MRA. It's not that strong of a drag that it used to be when it first came out in American Overdrive, but it's still a good car to use. We've got the C7R, which is great too, Der Kaiser. I think the Corvette Z06. Again, it's just one of those cars where if you can fully upgrade it, you're really gonna reap the rewards of that car. You really, really are. And I just think that, you know, you're more likely to fully upgrade the Z06 because it's an 87 over a Z51 because it's an 80, and nobody really wants to upgrade that. Hutch really needs to do something about, you know, making RQ80s, 65s, you know, the JREs and the Karens and all that just a little bit more desirable to fully upgrade. And then last but not least is the CT5V coupe race car. I mean, this is, if I remember correctly, the best non-prize Cadillac that you can pull. And for that reason alone, it is the best within at least the Cadillac niche, right? You know, for the non-prize stuff. So I'm going to put that in Der Kaiser as well. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Again, I'm making this video way in advance. I hope nothing changes. I hope the Tri-Series Rec doesn't change. I hope the pack doesn't change. I hope this is actually the prize car pull. Then I won't look like an idiot when I post this, when I schedule this for like a week from now. But anyway, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my